What's going on, everybody? Let me know if you guys can hear me. I'm using the microphone this time, so I wanted to make sure that everybody can actually hear me. I wanted to get on here because next weekend we are going to have our first, hopefully, webinar. Webinar where we are going to we're going to go over how to run a construction company. So it's actually a 8-hour live webinar that I'm going to be in next Saturday, and there is a cost to it. I'm actually going to the page right now because I wanted to lower the price so that everybody could get in that wants to come in. There's only 5 spots available. I wanted to make sure that the webinar, I don't want to have 25 people in there, right? I only want 5 people for 8 hours so that we can basically, sorry, I'm changing the price right now. I want to make it cheaper. Let's see here. Yeah, so I don't want, there we go. I don't want 20 people in the room because there's no way that we can get through everybody's questions if we have, 20 people in there. So yeah, I just dropped the price. Let me fix one more thing. Sorry about this. Super Crano, what are you saying there? You always renew your C10, do one job, and sign on with an industrial company. Is that are you saying that's how you like to do things? That's kind of the little niche that you're in. $99.99. Yeah, we're gonna lower the price there so that everybody can get into that thing. So like I was saying, there's 5 spots available, and this is going to be next Saturday. So if you want to jump into that webinar, but today I just wanted to spend a little time. And can everybody hear me? Can you guys give me a thumbs up, a like, something if you can hear? I got the microphone set up this time, so I wanted to make sure you guys can hear me better than just the laptop. So if someone can let me know in the chat if you guys can hear. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. So today I just have some free time. I mean, it's not really free time, but it's time I have available. And I wanted to get on here and answer any questions. I know I've been running into a lot of people at Home Depot and supply houses who know me from the YouTube channel. And a lot of them tend to have a lot of questions. So figured I'd get on here, spend a little bit of time. So feel free in the chat if you have any questions about anything, really. I mean, you got electrical questions about the channel, questions about how to get into an apprenticeship. We can chat about anything while we're on here. Super Crano, you said you should stick it out more with your company. You saying that, what are you saying, that you should have stuck it out with your company more and not gone off on your own? Or are you off on your own right now? Oh, hey, thanks. Wish you lived in the Bay Area. You're a great resource. Yeah, no, I appreciate that a lot. I don't know. I just started making videos, honestly, because we started the company, oh man, 4.5 years ago. I did, some of you guys have probably already heard this, but I did 7 years non-union and 7 years union for big contractors building hospitals, casinos, high rises, lots of big stuff, commercial, and then needed to make more money. Honestly, that's what it was. We needed more money, especially here in San Diego. So we started it about 4.5 years ago, and then yeah, we actually signed on with, and if you guys just came in, we have a webinar on Saturday where I'm going to go in depth on how to start a company and how to run a company. And really how to be profitable from day one. Um, there has never been a year that we did not that we have not made a profit um, as an electrical contractor. So we are going to go into. I'm going to basically just open up everything and explain a lot of things, mistakes I've made along the way, how to not make those same mistakes, how to get up off the ground. If you are thinking about, jumping yourself, let's say you're a journeyman or even if you're an apprentice right now and you just want to know what that looks like. Yeah, you can sign up. I'll be there next Saturday for a full 8 hours and you'll be able to ask me questions, whatever. I mean, you're literally one-on-one, me and 5 other people. So like I said, there's only 5 spots available. But today we're going to talk about any questions that you have. So we'll just hit some of the cliff notes of a lot of the stuff that's going to be in the actual webinar. And as I said, the webinar is where we go a whole lot deeper. So Michael Popovic, what's your process on bidding TI projects? So if I'm being honest, my friend, I don't really do TI much. We do a little bit of it, but what I have found is that, and the other thing here is that this webinar is not just for electricians, right? Running a contracting company, I have lots of friends who I've made good relationships with that are HVAC companies or plumbers. It's all the same thing on the back end of the company, how to get on your feet, how to get the company started. All of that stuff is exactly the same. And well, very close, but you use the same type of software. All of us pretty much use the same software to run the company. You have the same contractor's license. Uh, it's a different license, but you still have to get a license for most of the trades, right? And even bidding on jobs. I was just talking to a plumber friend of mine yesterday, and I actually was reaching out to him because you find that calling other electricians, sometimes they see you as competition and they're not as willing to share all of their information or their secrets, if they want to call it that, right? So talking to a different trade tends to be pretty good. So you want to build relationships with them. But the way that we bid jobs, the way that we do things it's very closely aligned. The only thing that's different is the actual work that a plumber does plumbing, we do electrical, right? HVAC, they work on mechanical. They do a little bit of electrical too, but it's open to everybody, right? So let's see, Michael Popovic, what's your process on bidding TI projects? He said, yeah. So when I have a TI project, so we actually did one, I don't know, 2 months ago. It was a smaller TI, probably. It had a lobby, it had 6 offices and like a break room. And the bathroom was actually in the hall. So we didn't even do the bathroom. But when I go in there, I basically just look at what's the scope of work. So the first thing I'll ask is, do you guys have a permit? Right? So I can see the drawings. All of us have seen drawings. We know what they look like. So I'll look at it and I will say, just from my experience, hey, this is going to take me approximately 3 days with me and Paul. Right? So I know in my head how many hours that is. And then I'll take my hourly rate and I'll just apply that to how many ever hours I think it's going to take us. And then I'll get a material list together and I'll either, if it's a bigger job, like we did a Red Bull EV charger project with 17 EV chargers inside a Red Bull facility. And for that one, the material list was pretty substantial for what we do. So compared to other jobs, right? I don't do like big hospitals and casinos and stuff like that now. So I just got a material list together, sent it out to, let's say, 3 different supply houses, right? Rexel, CED, Walters, City Electric. So I'll send it out to all of them. I'll say, give me your lowest and best price. They'll send back the quotes to me and they'll say, okay, here's our price. And so then I look at it and I figure out, okay, these guys are much easier to work with, but they're $1,000 more on materials. okay, let me hit these guys back and I'll say, hey, you guys are 1,000. I literally just tell them, like, I got 4 quotes. You guys are $1,000 higher than these other guys. How can we tighten this thing up? Right. And as long as they get within, I don't know, for us, within $300 to $500 of the other quote, I'm willing to spend a little bit extra money if, like, let's say Rexel, I use Rexel a lot. I really like those guys. So they have really good delivery no matter where I'm at in Southern California because they have a lot of locations, just like City Electric, CED. You build the relationships with those people at the local supply house, and they can drop tickets at any of the locations with your pricing that you have at the supply house where you're at, right? So I'll get the pricing back. Then I take my labor hours and I add my material to it. I don't mark up material. I don't like to do that because so in the state of California, and a lot of guys don't do this or know about this. So technically, imagine I buy a receptacle, just a simple receptacle or a switch for $10 at Home Depot. Okay. And then I mark it up 50%. So I sell it for $15. Well, technically, the state of California wants me to pay them tax for that extra $5 that I marked up the material. I'm supposed to provide monthly estimates on everything that I buy and everything that I mark up. And then I'm also supposed to quarterly make those actual payments if I mark up the material. So I don't have the time to deal with that. I did not want to have to go through that. So I literally just purchase the material. I pay tax, whether it's at Home Depot, Lowe's, or a supply house. I pay the tax on it, and then I sell it to the customer for that same amount. But I make up for it because my hourly rate is a little bit higher than most of the other guys, right? So I do make more on labor only jobs than other guys do, but it typically balances out over time, right? Most jobs we're going to have some materials that we need. But back to your question, what's the process on bidding TI projects? That's kind of how I do it. Now, when you're saying bidding TI projects, perhaps you're thinking of like, a bigger TI, like an entire floor on a building. To be honest, I don't even bid on those because I found that companies' labor rates are so low because the market is so cutthroat that we're looking at potentially 10-15% profit margin, if not maybe 20-25 if they have a really good foreman on site and he knows how to run the job, right? Well, that's not the profit margin that I'm looking to make for my company. I want to make 45% profit margin. So every time I've bid on a larger TI scale job working for a GC, I've almost every time I don't get it because my labor rate is too high and I apply the labor rate to the entire job, right? Whereas, so I'll give it to you for instance. I typically charge $150 an hour, right? Well, I know that bigger companies, like let's say Berg Electric, Dynalectric, Baker, Helix, all these guys. This is all Southern California, well, Berg's, I think they're in multiple states now, but those guys, they have so much volume that they're able to handle the 15% profit margin or more, or a little bit more than that because they're doing such volume, right? I don't have that much volume, and I need to make sure that every single project that I'm doing is hitting as high of a profit margin as I possibly can. So the other side of it is I absolutely hate working for general contractors. There have been a couple that have been absolutely amazing, right? But the thing that I detest is that these larger companies, larger general contracting companies, they'll do net 45, net 60, all the way out sometimes to net 120, where you finish a job and you don't get paid for 2 to 4 months. That means I have to carry all that material cost and all the labor cost for 2 to 4 months after I have completed the job. And it's just I can't do it. I can't. It's too hard as a small contractor. It's really difficult to do that. And so, like I said, though, there have been a couple, and there was one in particular that we did so much work for in 2023. They just it was amazing. We were doing work. We would literally drive hours out of town, go handle a job. And as we're driving back from that job, they had another job and said, I need you to go all the way to Chula. Like we're literally in Baker, California, out in the desert, right? Working up on the sand dunes on cell towers. And as we're driving back, they're like, we got another one in Chula Vista. We need you down there right now. Send us a quote. Here's the scope. You need a 200 amp disconnect. You need 3-aught conductors, 45 feet. You need number 10 black red and a number 12 ground, and you need 6 30-amp breakers, 2-pole breakers, right? So I'd write it all up. We'd pick it up on the way down, and boom, we're beelining it down for Chula Vista. Then the next day, boom, dude, I'm telling you, we were just all over the place with that company, and they paid amazing, right? They did have lag. It was a 45-day lead time, but once we were rolling with them, so the first 45 days is a little tough, right? Because you have to carry all that material cost and your labor cost, and I still have to pay Paul, right? You know what I mean? Like, and at the time we had a second apprentice as well, Josh. I don't know if you guys remember him. He was in one video. But yeah, what was I saying? They were amazing. But once you get rolling with it, right? So once that 45 days hits, you've had so many jobs that all of a sudden now you're getting paid like once a week every single time. And it's the backlog from 45 days. The problem with that contractor is the work dried up. It had nothing to do with them, the relationship. I still reach out to the main guy who was my contact over there. Absolutely love the guy. But my whole point on that is that it's very challenging at times to work for general contractors, and especially if you run into the ones who get you to do the work and then they don't want to pay you, and it takes forever to get paid, and you're worried if you're ever going to get paid. You know what I mean? And I've had numerous of those. Thankfully we've always gotten paid. It's been good. Yeah, like I said, there's been a couple good ones. The ones that we did, all the meter pack upgrades, all those videos, my contact over there, amazing guy. The guy who got us all of the work, amazing guy as well. He actually found us on YouTube, and he referred us to the owner or the owner's rep and said, hey, this is the guy. And those ones were a little rocky in the beginning. The first job was a little tough because, if I'm being honest, I had never upgraded, what was it, 58 units in an apartment building. I had never done that many, especially in one day, doing half. If you guys saw those videos, we did one side one day and then one side another day. So it was a little challenging. I underbid for sure a little bit on that project, that first project. But you learn, right? And that contractor was amazing too. He technically wasn't a contractor. He was more an owner's rep, and it was kind of direct to customer on that. But that's kind of how we do our projects now, right? You guys see a lot of videos of electrical panel upgrades. You see a lot of EV charger videos that we come out with, service calls. If you're thinking about starting your own company, you really want to find that niche that you like, right? You might be the type that you just absolutely love working in people's homes, and you want to do can lights and receptacles, and you want to, cut in outlets for bidets, and that might be your thing. Or maybe you want to get hooked up with water districts, or go a little bit more industrial with your thing, if that's where your contacts are and if that's where your history is, before you jump off on your own. Or maybe it is TI projects and you have really good relationships with a couple GCs already, and they're willing to feed you some work. You just got to figure out where you your little niche is going to be, so that you can make sure that you're being profitable. Um, Again, I found that if I work direct to the customer, whether it's a homeowner, it's a building owner, um, or a head maintenance person of, let's say, like we do some work for a retirement community. It's one building, and they probably call us 3 to 5 times a year. They have problems, right? Um, you'll get set up with those smaller. Now, again, if you have plans that you want to grow, you know, 30 guys and 30 trucks in 10 years, like, well, you're going to have to go after some bigger jobs, or you're going to have a lower labor rate and go after a whole bunch of smaller projects, right? So like a whole bunch of service calls. Maybe that's what you want. You want a bunch of trucks and guys running around just doing service calls all day. Um, Honestly, I'm just kind of going with the flow, whatever the Lord wants to bring to us. Like that's kind of, we get calls. We do our best to do the marketing that we can. I don't pay for marketing. That's another thing we're going to get into in the webinar next Saturday. If you want to sign up, like I said, I just lowered the price on that so that it could be more affordable. And there's only 5 spots available for next Saturday. So I don't want 25 people in there. I didn't even want to do 5. I was thinking about doing 3, but it's an 8-hour webinar. So you should be able to get through all of your questions. And like I said, I'm going to go through step by step from the beginning. You're thinking about going off on your own. How do you do that? Right? Marketing, bidding, everything, all the way, start to finish. And yeah, so you can jump in on that if you want to. What's your advice? Or Super Crano said, I can only close with GCs, homeowners, not so much. It's the key having service contracts ready. Is it key having service contracts ready or something else? Honestly, Super Crano, I have not been able to land any service contracts. It just hasn't been something that we've done. I've done some work for property management companies, but usually those are one-off jobs where they'll just call me and they'll say, hey, um, an entire room, all the lights went out in the room in a commercial building. Can you go over there and fix it? And the maximum for us to run a credit card is $1,500. So can you provide us a quote? I write up a quote, send it over. It's $1,100. Go over there, troubleshoot materials, whatever, and we get it done. And but as far as like service contracts, I don't have an actual contract. But like I was saying, we have return customers who we've built relationships with, like the head maintenance guy, and there's not an actual contract there, but he knows what my prices are. The manager or the general manager of the facility knows what my prices are. And for service calls, we just go in, we write them an invoice, and it's done. So I mean, I guess in a way that's a service contract. It's just not actually laid out with the stipulation of what the pricing is. So yeah, I mean, service contracts, uh, as I said, it's just really, people find you. Being found is really important, right? Making sure that when you start the company, that you set up a Google business profile and that you set it up correctly. There's 2 to 3 different ways you can set up the Google business profile. And if you set it up wrong, like I did in the beginning, it's very difficult to fix it because Google is not very friendly to get a hold of their customer service. It's very difficult to get any of them to make any changes. And I realized that for the first, I want to say 3 years or 2.5 years of the company, I had it wrong. And basically what I had was I had the service location at my house. And so the way Google works is it's only a 2-mile radius around your house is where I was popping up. It did not show up in the entire county. And I finally figured that out about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And it took me months to get it fixed. So setting that up is critical so that you're actually showing up in all of the cities that are around you, especially if you're in a metropolitan area, whether you're in San Diego, San Francisco, New York, Dallas, whatever. you want to be popping up everywhere. And then also going into how do you make Google continue to promote your business, right? Because you want to constantly be posting updates to Google Business Profile. As soon as you finish a job, you take a photo of the work that you did, you put an update in Google Business Profile, and you put some keywords in there that says Landers Electric just finished another electrical panel upgrade. If you need a free estimate, feel free to go to this link, and it links to the website, right? All of that stuff is critically important. There's a lot of guys who they'll pay for House Call Pro. They'll pay for what's that other one? Angie, and all this stuff. And you can do that. The problem is you're going to have to mark up your jobs for the amount that lead cost you, right? They're all lead generation companies is what they are. So, and they know that an electrical panel upgrade or a TI project is worth way more than going to change an outlet. So the lead cost, I mean, for a panel upgrade, sometimes the lead costs are like $150. And that doesn't even mean that you landed the job. That just means that you got the contact of the person who's looking to get the job done, right? So the homeowner, right? And then a lot of times you get homeowners who go on there, or business owners, and they're just shopping. They're like, oh, I think I want to do this someday. And they'll put it in, they'll punch everything in, and then they'll call you, and you call them back, and they're like, oh, okay, thank you for the quote. I appreciate that. Or can you come out and meet me? You go meet them, and then you don't land the job. And now you just spent $150, right? So you got to figure out ways. And that's another thing with the YouTube, right? Like, when we got slow in early 2024, like I'm saying, we got really slow, and I had to lay off my second apprentice. And I mean, I was worried. I was pretty worried, because we had basically put all our eggs in one basket. Remember that company I was telling you we did so much work for in 2023? Well, it all dried up. And as we were doing all that work, going all over the state, doing work for them, not in Northern California, but everywhere, basically in Central and Southern California, I had to tell everybody local that would call me for jobs, no, I can't do it. We're in Baker, or we're in Ojai, or we're in San Bernardino, or we're in Bakersfield. I had to tell them we can't. Well, when all that work dried up, I basically didn't have a business here local in San Diego, because work begets work, right? So I take a small job, I go do a receptacle at somebody's house. They love the work. They love that we did it, right? They're like, hey, this guy Landers, you got to hire this guy. Their neighbor says, I need a panel upgrade. That's who they call, because they talk to their neighbor, right? So it's like a snowball effect. And that was one of the biggest things that I learned, especially as a smaller contractor. Now, I could have hired a journeyman, right, to run everything down here, or send the journeyman up to go handle all those projects that were all over the state. And then I could run around and do all the service calls, but I didn't realize that at the time, right? And I was too scared to hire a journeyman, because in order to compete with Berg and the other big boys, I got to pay them $55-$60 an hour down here. And my actual cost on that is probably $75-$80, maybe even more, after I have to pay my employer side taxes, right? So it's a little scary to make that jump and bring on a journeyman electrician. But yeah, I mean, all that to say, you got to make sure that you're trying to learn and figure out. And everything I learned, guys and girls, everything I learned, I literally learned it for free. I learned it by making mistakes, and I learned it by watching YouTube videos and following people who were already doing it, and weeding out those as I'm watching videos and learning, going through courses, whatever, weeding out the ones that you can just tell they don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And you just learn. You do it. You got to get out there and do it. That's I think for most people, that's the scariest thing is the thought of not having that paycheck and making the actual jump from, I work for a company, I'm going to go after this, right? Like, it's scary. And for me too, I waited 5 years after I got my contractor's license back in, like, oh man, it was 5 years. So like 9 years ago, but I didn't actually make the jump until 4.5 years ago. So that shows you, like, there's that there's that fear. And I think that all of us carry it. I carried the same thing when I was working for contractors. I was like, I really want to do this. I think that this is good, but I'm really scared to do it because I had 2 kids, one on the way. Like, there's such a fear there of, should I do this? Like, is it going to work out? And, but ultimately, right when COVID hit and all the mandates and everything came down, that was when I said, dude, I'm done. I'm going after this. Like, I'm going to give it a shot. And worst case scenario, you guys know, if you're a good worker, they're going to hire you right back. If it doesn't work, you might end up in a little bit of debt, right? But you can go right back to work for a contractor. Like, you still have your license. It's not that difficult, right? But at the same time, I don't mean to say that it's really easy, because guys, it's not easy. Like, you have to be willing, and your family has to be willing, right? If you have one, if you're married and you got kids, like, they're going to need to know that, like, your hours are going to be all over the place. And when you first start out, especially, you're basically going to take everything that comes. That's what I did. The first 8 months, I was by myself. Um, I was by myself doing panel upgrades by myself. Every job was by myself. And it wasn't until like 8 months in that Paul, he had just gotten out of high school, and Paul, his brothers were electricians, and he did not want to go to college. And he just came up to me one day. I don't remember if he called me or if he walked up to me at church or what, but he was like, hey, I want to be an electrician. Like, do you need help? And it literally came at the perfect time, because I was so overwhelmed. And if you guys ever saw that video where I blew my hand up, that was like a month in with Paul, because I was still so stressed out and so, I mean, I was working 12, 14, 16, 18-hour days, right? I was doing all of this stuff by myself, and Paul came on, and then that added another level of, well, now I have to train him. So I was still kind of doing everything myself, just with someone to help grab things. But even like grabbing things from the van, I'd say, go get a 3/4 inch connector. I mean, he was green. He didn't know what a 3/4 inch connector was. And I realized that very quickly, like, oh my goodness, like, I have to actually train this guy. And I mean, you guys see Paul now, he's amazing, right? He goes on service calls, all, like, everything. It's great. But you realize that in the beginning, it's like, man, like, so that first month, 2 months, I was still really stressed out. And if you haven't seen it, go watch. I think it's something, I think I did some clickbaity title, like, I could have died or something. I think I put that in there. It's what happened. I left a main breaker on when I was trying to do a panel swap, and the number 4 bare copper that goes from the ground rods up into the panel, the grounding electrode conductor, I guess you'd call it. It crossed 240, and my hand was like right there. So the panels, the bussing's right here. How could I do this like this? The bussing's like literally right here, and I was trying to push the ground out, and it slipped out of my fingers because there was pressure on it, and it slipped out, and it crossed the 240 and just went, blew up right on my hand. Like, it was gnarly. Anyways, I'm talking a lot. What's your minimum service call charge, like a GFCI replacement? Or did I miss one? True Red King, what's your advice to apprentices starting their first week on the job? That's a great question, man. I'm glad you're even in here. 99% of apprentices are not going to come watch this. They're not looking, they think they know it all. Maybe not 99%, probably, I don't know, 80. You guys tell me. You are all on jobs. How many apprentices are actual go-getters? But what's your advice? I got two main things for apprentices out there. Everywhere you go, you need to be walking fast. You need to be the fastest moving person on the job site. Don't run, or you're going to get yelled at. You're not allowed to run on job sites, but you need to be the fastest moving person on that job site. And really, it's just one, and really it's two, but I can't remember the second one right now. So that one is most important. That is going to show your foreman, your journeyman, your general foreman, whoever it is, superintendent, that you are there for a reason and you mean business. If I see somebody walking around like this, not for a second am I going to put any of my knowledge into that person's head. If they're slumping around and and you're brand new, the only thing you have is your drive and your motivation. So you go get that material as fast as you can, and you're going to get 20,000 steps a day is what you should as an apprentice. Easy, moving back and forth. Go over here, go over here, go over. What's next, boss? What's next, boss? What's next, man? What's next? That's what you're asking. That is going to open up the door for people to see you and to notice you and to know that, like I said, you mean business. That's what you need to be doing. If there's nothing else that you do, just move as fast as you can and go to the foreman, because then they're going to actually put you on a good task, right? And they might not. Maybe you got a jerk journeyman. Maybe you got a jerk whatever. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I can see it down here. Maybe, I don't know if your volume's down or not, but anyways, with your apprentice, that's what I got to say. Number one, just move fast. That's going to show them that you're there, you want to be there, you want to learn, and it's going to open up doors for you as you move in your apprenticeship. And then when they put you on a task, I mean, I don't even care, dude. Go home. If you don't understand it, ask a million questions, right? But you need to pay attention when you get the answer. What journeymen and foremen and owners don't want to deal with is explaining the same thing a million times to a person. So I don't care if you have to bring a notepad with you. Ask them, what size wire do you want? How do I bend this conduit? And then go home and watch videos and learn and learn and learn. The apprenticeship, it's not going to teach you everything you need to know. They're going to teach you basics, right? That's what the apprenticeship is there for. But you're going to create your own career path. You're the effort that you put in is what you're going to get out of it. And also have a humble attitude. You're going to run into journeymen who are complete idiots. You're going to run into foremen who are complete idiots. But that doesn't matter. You have to still shut your mouth and you have to do whatever they say. Like that's the world that it is. It's almost like the military, man. Like you have to do what you're told. And for apprentices, that's my best advice. Let's see here. We got a minimum service call charge in San Diego for residential. I'm at $260. That does not include materials. That's my minimum show up is $260. For that's resi. Commercial, $300. So that's my minimum. You want me to come out now? That does not include job walks. Okay. I'm very picky about the jobs that I actually go drive to give an estimate. 95% of the jobs that I do and I give quotes on are done over the phone via text or email or a phone call. I ask them and I put it on them. I want to make sure that they're serious, number one. So they might call me and say, hey, I got a problem. I say, okay, explain it to me. What do you got going on? Well, half of my house went out. There's no power in half of my house. Okay. Is that a utility problem or is that an electrician's problem? What do you guys think? Utility problem. It's a trick question. It could be either. Okay. What I have seen in houses is every now and then you run into a house where the utility neutral, it's usually the neutral. And if it's an overhead service, that means it's up above the house on the mast or in a handhole where the utility neutral is intermittently going in and out because it had a bad connection and it's been sitting there for decades, most of these houses. That's the number one problem I see on the utility side, but it doesn't happen very often. Usually half a house going out means that there's a loose leg somewhere on the mains, right? So you know this in your brain, like what's going on if a whole house goes out. The other thing is it could just be a loose connection and they think that it's half of their house. You got to take what people say as homeowners with a grain of salt. We've had it. I had one. I got a service call at like 11 o'clock at night and went out there. I don't take these calls very much anymore. I don't like being out at yeah, whatever time, 11 o'clock, midnight, one. I used to take those calls because I would never knew where the money was going to come from. But long story short, it was 4 bedrooms that were out and they were all on the same circuit. And the circuit actually came from the main panel. So think the panel on your house, the circuit went up. It actually hit the doorbell, the box in the doorbell first. I checked everything. I checked switches, receptacles. I'm looking for a loose connection. I finally crawled up into the attic. And as I'm crawling through, I had my tick tracer and I would check all the way as I went across the attic. Okay, these wires are hot. These wires are hot. These wires are hot. These wires are hot. Boom, there's the wire that's dead. Well, I looked at the wire and it went straight down, climbed back out of the attic, and underneath there was a switch. Well, I had already opened up that switch and I was like, what the heck, dude? Right above the switch was the box for the doorbell. I literally took my hand and I hit the box and boom, all the lights came on. So I opened that thing up. The neutral had been all melted in there. So I cut them, stripped them, tightened it. All the power is back on. So you're going to know as you do this more and more, take your troubleshooting skills, whether you're doing resi now or commercial, the same troubleshooting skills are going to apply. Okay. You're going to go, you'll be able to figure out, hey, this is a simple problem. So that's going to be covered under, like, let's say a $260 minimum. Now, if I get there and an outlet is completely burned up, it's $260 plus the cost of the material. And as I said earlier, if you weren't in here, I don't mark up my material. I just charge it at cost because I don't want to have to deal with the state of California and their stupid taxes for markup of materials. So yeah, 260 for resi, 300 for commercial. Those are minimums to roll the tires on my truck. And now, every now and then we run into a little old lady. I know that she's on a fixed income. I understand that they were brought up, and this is something you're going to learn as well. They were brought up in a different day and age where the prices were not as expensive as they are today for newer homeowners, those who potentially are in 25 to 45 age range, right? These 60 plus people, they're not used to $300 or $260. So for them, I usually try and schedule those jobs in a driving order. So if I have a day that's not a panel upgrade is a 1-day job, right? But if I have service calls, I try and schedule them. Okay, I'm going to start all the way down in South County, Chula Vista, wherever. And then I'm going to hit the next job and the next job coming north. And I'm going to end by my house, right? And I will throw them in the middle of my travel because I know that I'm not going to be able to charge them $260. So that's just, you'll learn that as you go through, right? You're going to have to figure out how to maximize the money from, and I don't mean that, but gouging people. I just mean maximize. If I have to go all the way to Chula Vista for an old lady for $150, I can't do that. I'm not going to make any money on that job, right? By the time I get all the way down there, that's an hour down, do the work, an hour back. We're looking at 3 hours minimum. And I'm just not going to hit the numbers that I want. Like I was saying, a 45% profit margin on the company. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. When you are a small business, the big problem that you see is having to do everything: estimates, permits, inspections, bookkeeping, bank deposits, service calls. How do you handle it? Bro, that's, I'm figuring it out, man. Like it's a challenge. And the more work you get, the more stressed you can potentially become. And also on the other side, if you don't have work, you're stressed. So it's kind of a two-edged sword on both sides, right? There's never really that happy medium. And I don't know. I can't answer that question. You just do it. it's a different world than when I worked for contractors. I will tell you that. It's a completely different world. It is extremely difficult, but it can be done, right? You have to have that type of personality that is you're a go-getter. Like, and if you're like that, like if you're already working for a company and let's say you already have the what's that term, side hustles, you're already doing other side hustles, you're already thinking about ways to make more money outside of just your 8-hour day, or maybe you haven't got to that far yet, but you're the type who wants to work a bunch of OT, right? And you're always all about the OT. Those are the type of personalities that I think can do this. You have to be the type that can be somewhat spontaneous, right? And that you also enjoy multiple job sites every day, right? If you're the type that you love to be on a job for I don't know, 2 years long, and you don't like having to go to multiple places, and you just love the one job you're on, and you love going there and going home, it might not be the best. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying you can't, right? But you need to start thinking before you actually make the jump. And again, whether you're a plumber, HVAC, whatever, drywaller, it doesn't matter. And you're thinking about painter going off on your own, it doesn't matter. Like, is that the type of personality? Because that's how this side of things is. It can be all over the place. I was always like that from day one. I was constantly thinking of like new ideas. I started businesses while I worked for companies. Like we started if you guys didn't know, we have the Texas Electrical Continuing Education. I actually started that years ago, like a long time ago, because I was trying to make more income for the family. So I started that thing up. I started a Christmas light installation company. That was the dumbest thing in the entire world for me, because in my family, literally all of our birthdays, my wife, my kids, Christmas, and our anniversary is from the end of November to January. So it's the dumbest time to try and start a company, because especially Christmas light company, because that's the time when you're doing that. You know what I mean? So check yourself before you just say, yes, I can do this. Like it's a lot. It's a lot. And how do you do the estimates, permits, inspections, bookkeeping? So I'll tell you guys right now, and I should have put a link in here. I'll put a link here. I'll put it right here. Let me find it. Let me show you guys this. Uh, Um, where is it? So making sure that you have a good organized company is absolutely critical to payment. These guys, I just recently with these guys, and I don't know if I can find the link. Um, Let me see if I can pop it up. Here it is. Okay. Making sure that you have a good organizational, um, what do you call it? Program where you can write the estimates. Okay. Over there, I think if you click the link, get 50% off, but it doesn't even matter if it's 50% off. The thing's $20 a month. And what it does is you can write estimates in there. You can convert the estimates if the people agree and they want you to do the job. You convert it to an invoice right inside there. And then from there, you can send receipts. You can organize all of your customers. You put their information in there. Like it's critical that you have something. Now, there's companies, you guys have probably seen ads for Jobber or ads for these other companies they're astronomically priced, Service Titan. And I mean, they're super expensive. And what they offer is way more than what a small contractor could ever need. So I found these guys, they're a family owned and operated company, and they wanted to produce a CRM, basically a software program that contractors can use, all types of contractors, again, plumbers, HVAC, electricians, it doesn't matter. The smaller guys, something as cheap as possible so that guys can use, and it's not like a tiered thing, like $20 gets you basic, and then $100 gets you more abilities within the program. You get everything for 20 bucks. So if you're starting out, that is an absolute, you got to have that. You absolutely have to have that. So anyways, that's a little sidebar, but what question were we on here? Yeah. How do I handle it? The permits, inspections, my friend, you're going to be all over the place. I'm still working on trying to figure out how to organize everything. I use Google Calendar. I'm not the greatest at, I'm pretty good at remembering what jobs are on what days. But as we have gotten busier and busier and we get more work now than we ever have, it's much more difficult to remember where I'm supposed to be tomorrow, so it's really critical that you set up the customers in something like project to payment, right? Make sure that do your estimate. You can, once you're done, you can change it into an invoice, and then you can receive the payment from them straight through that program, and it goes right into your bank account, right? You got to have that. Don't be trying to write paper invoices, or it's so organized. But yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot. But that's kind of how I handle it. I try to schedule days where if I have multiple permits I need to pull, I try and do all the permits on the same day. If we have service calls, I try and do them on the same day. Oftentimes, if we have a day-long job or 2-day-long job, I will go do a service call after I finish up that day. Or if it's something, yeah, I mean, that's what I try and do. Service calls in the evening time after the kids go to bed. I'm usually checking some emails, responding to anybody who had questions, a panel upgrade. They're like, hey, where are we at in the process? Hey, this is where we're at. Or more job work came in, so I schedule phone calls with them. As I said, I do 95% of the quotes over the phone, because if I have to go drive out to every single job, I'm not going to make any money, because maybe 50% of them say no. And how many hours in the month did I spend driving around to different places, right? Sorry, let me open this up. Drive around to different places, and I never got the job. So I do them sight unseen, and I ask them to send photos. That lets me know they're serious, if they're willing to go walk around their house. And then you have to use your knowledgeable brain, and you're probably going to not make as much money on some jobs because you're going to quote it wrong, but you're going to learn from that, right? I don't think there's only been a few jobs that we didn't make any profit, right? There's a couple that I completely botched and we made zero, and we actually lost money. But thankfully, one of them was like, we lost like $12,000. So that was a really big hit for us, right? Because we're not pulling millions, right? That's not 12 grand to me is a lot of money, man. Like, that's a big paycheck. So, but yeah, again, if you're just coming in, we have a webinar this Saturday. Check out the link in the description of this live, Go sign up. There's only 5 seats available. And as I said, I'm going to go into everything that I know, how to get you from starting out fresh to making sure that on every single job you're making a profit. So check that out. Let's go. Where are we at next? Man, there's a lot of questions on here. Let's see. Would you ever bring on a certified guy to get some experience on panel upgrades and all that? Not as an employee, but more as an on-call situation when you need an extra hand. Hans, yes. So we actually do that. I have one guy who is very trustworthy. I use him whenever I had to go out of town a couple weeks ago, and we had a panel upgrade scheduled. And he actually he's licensed, went to work with Paul. They got the panel upgrade done. So I do like to do that on a contract basis when we run into issues. Also, if you saw all those big meter pack upgrade videos that we did, I pulled in 2 other contractors, and they both came out to help. So I contracted them to help me, because there's no way that I can change out 28 meters by myself in one day, right? And we have to have the power back on by one day, or the owner has to pay for everybody's food in their refrigerator, and there's all this liability. But yeah. And if we ever get busy enough, I do want to bring a journeyman on. But the biggest problem with so many guys is they don't carry their actual general electrician's license. And I get calls all the time. Hey, are you looking for somebody? And I say, well, not right now, but I'll keep you in mind. Do you have your license? And they're like, no, I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't need my license. And I'm like, well, there's nothing I can do. And some guys, they still hire them. But unfortunately, if they get hurt, CSLB finds out, that's the Contractor State License Board in California, I'm in a lot of trouble and I could lose my license. So I can't hire these guys. So the guys who I do need to hire are the certified electricians. And those guys know that if they go work for a big guy, they're going to make 55, 60 bucks an hour here. So I have to match them at least 55, 60 bucks an hour. And if I don't, then why would they come work for me? Why wouldn't they just go work for Berg or somebody else? You know what I mean? So it's a lot to bring on a journeyman, and I'm still learning. When is that point where I should make that jump? So sorry guys. I got yelled at from somebody because I answered my wife's text in the middle of a live stream and he didn't like it, but so sorry. What's a good torque wrench? The WIHA, WIHA. That's for the screwdriver. And the actual torque wrench that you see in the videos is a snap-on. It's a 15 to 75 foot-pounds torque wrench. I like the mechanical one that makes the click. They do have the ones that are electronic now. I've just always used the one with the click. I like it. I like to feel the actual, I like that. So, but yeah, snap-on for the wrench, WIHA for the screwdriver. We tried a different one. It's a black and blue one from Home Depot. The thing broke within 3 times of trying to torque something down. Always my dude. Frustrating. Thanks for the quote. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the quote is what you get sometimes. But honestly, once you build a pretty good network of people, most people are not trying to waste your time. Like, they got your number because they have a problem and they want it fixed and you were recommended. So as you build out, and that's why it's so important to have integrity, right? I mean, I know some other contractors who I can tell that they're not white label, if you will, or whatever you call that. And I just wonder sometimes how long they're going to last, because you got to be honest, man. I'm a Christian. I 100% believe that the Lord watches everything I do, and he's going to make sure that if I do something wrong, that he's going to correct me. You know what I mean? That's what I believe. That's 100% how I run my company. But aside from that, what do you expect is going to happen if you run your company in a manner that is not full of integrity? You're going to end up not getting calls back, and you're going to end up chasing money and trying to gouge people. It's just not. I want to be able to put my head on the pillow at night and be like, I didn't cheat anybody. I didn't do anything that I wasn't supposed to. Like, and don't get me wrong, every now and then I'll blow up on somebody. I got a temper, man. Like, I'll freak out at a job or whatever, and I'm getting better at it, right? I think all of us can have a little bit of our own emotional states, right? But be full of integrity, and you're going to build a really good reputation for yourself. Because and the other thing is alcohol and drugs, right? Don't be doing that, right? Like, you're not going to be showing up to work. You're not going to be showing up to customers. Like, if that's something you are like heavy into right now, you're not going to do good at this. I'm just going to tell you right now. But anyways, your method now is leave materials with them, take a deposit for the main panel upgrade, and we both have the skin in the game. That's one way to do it for sure. Absolutely. You can 100%. I think the state of California allows us to request up to 10%. I don't do that. But that doesn't mean that my way is the best. I don't like keeping deposits, because I found that if life changes, especially with something like a panel upgrade that could range anywhere from $4,000 all the way up to 20 grand, if it's an underground panel upgrade, if I take a deposit and then something happens in their life and they're like, hey, I can't move forward with this, then I refund them the money and I have to go through that whole process. You know what I mean? I just don't like to do that, but I know that most guys, they put deposits out or request for deposits. So Yeah, I mean, you got skin in the game. The skin that I want is I want them to send me photos, and I want them to at least respond to the emails from SDG&E or whatever the utility company is when the utility company asks something from them. And usually it's the first step where they say, hey, we've received this request from Landers Electric. Are you actually hiring him? And are you actually moving forward with him? I want to see them respond to that, send me the photos, and sign my quote, right? That's it. So usually I can look at a panel upgrade nowadays. They send me photos standing back from the panel, open up the cover. Let me see all the breakers. I see how many conduits are coming into the bottom, into the side, whatever. Is there solar coming into it? And I'm able to give them a quote just with the photos. So that's how I like to do it, because I got to keep moving. You know what I mean? I can't be driving out, spending 4 hours sometimes to drive all the way downtown to go give a quote. So send me photos, and I always put a little buffer in there to make sure that I'm covered. You know what I mean? And sometimes I make a little extra money on it, and sometimes I lose a little extra money. But it usually balances out. What was I going to say on that? So one thing that I like to do is I will put just a little bit extra, at least for like 1 hour. And we're not talking about service calls. Service calls are 260 or 300 for resi and commercial. But a bigger project, right? So let's say someone wants 4 bedrooms in their house. They want to add a whole bunch of can lights and some dimmer switches and all this. I will put in 1 or 2 extra hours in the quote, because almost every time while I'm there, they're like, hey, by the way, this light switch it's never worked. I can't figure it out. When I put a little bit extra in there and they ask me that question, I'm like, 100%. Let's figure it out. I know in my head that I had a little bit extra in there, and it's almost every one of those jobs that there's something that they didn't cover in the quote, right? When they laid out what they wanted done, and it's not usually they're trying to get something for free. They just, it reminds them once we're there working, and then I'm able to go do it and not charge them extra because I have a little extra money in it. And it's perfect, because then they're like, he came out, he gave me a quote, he did all of the work, and he did something extra and didn't ask me for any more money. Like, that's awesome, man. That's good for everybody, right? And the jobs where you don't actually have anything extra, if you're having a conversation with them, sometimes they'll be like, man, things are a little tight right now or whatever. You can give them a little bit of a discount. You know what I mean? And I mean, I've come up with discount reasons. Like, I could tell I wasn't going to land a certain job, right? My quote was too high. And I get on the phone with them and they're like, hey, man, that's a little, and they're like, and I ask them, I say, okay, well, what are you thinking? What do you want to pay? And they'll come in $200 less. And I'm like, sounds great. Let's do it. I make a little less on that job, but I know that other jobs I'm going to make a little bit more. So it always balances out. Some of I'm like, just last week, there was a guy who was going to UCSD, and at the very end, Paul ended up being there for a little bit more time, probably an extra hour, right? Usually you need to charge for that. Well, I'm on the phone with him and he's like, do you think it's still going to be the same price? And I was like, I'm not going to change the price on you, man. Paul didn't have anything else for the rest of the day anyways. And I'm going to pay him no matter what. So take it as a student loan discount, because I know you're a college student right now, right? Those little things, I don't think, like, for me, they have gone a million miles, man, because now that person is a beacon of, this is the best electrician in the world to everybody that he knows, right? You just created so much business for yourself from one person having a good relationship with one person, because now they're going to tell anybody who ever asked for an electrician, they're going to say, call this guy. He was great. You know what I mean? That is networking, right? That's how you build that. And I have found, and again, I'm not an expert. Like, we've been doing it 4.5 years. Like, I'm not trying to tell you here, like, I have everything figured out. But what I do know is that works, and it works really well. And I get calls from people and they're like, hey, Randy recommended you to me. I don't even know who Randy is. You know what I mean? Like, but it doesn't matter, because he heard from somebody who heard from somebody, and then they got my phone number. You know what I mean? So it's really good to do those kind of things. So let's see here. Audio's not working. My journeyman straight up said I was doing too much and had to stop trying to be better than him. Raul, I think it's Raul. That's a tough one. You, if you, I'll be, I went from, I moved as a third year apprentice from California, and I moved to Alaska, and then I moved to Georgia. And when I got out to Georgia, the pace out in Georgia was completely different than it was in San Diego. My foreman and all of my higher ups here in San Diego, it was crack the whip. You better be moving, right? Get this job done. You go out there, it was not the same pace. So, unfortunately, if you get under somebody who's like that, I would say you still need to move fast. You still need to push, because other people are going to see, and if it makes him mad at you, then I mean, it's a tough one, dude. It's a tough one. I kind of would just put my head down when that happened a couple times for me, and you got to keep pushing through. Like, I mean, it's tough. True Red King, thank you so much. Landers, you're awesome. Hey, thank you. I appreciate all you guys out there. More than you guys know. Dumb question, journeyman. NEC testing advice: study on my own or take night classes. Either is fine. There is a website, I believe it's called electricianpracticetests.com. I think it's free. Electricianpracticetests.com or something like that. And they have a whole bunch of tests on there. I would set a timer on your phone for, I think it's 4 hours in California. I don't remember how long you have, and literally just take as many tests as you can and make sure you can get through. I think is it 100 questions? I can't remember. Somebody tell me. But make sure you can get through it and that you pass with the passing score. The other thing, you can take some of the online courses. There's a lot of online courses out there, and they can help you. They do a good job. They know what they're doing as well. And then if there's classes, you could, I mean, honestly, do whatever you feel is going to be best so that you pass that test. You don't, like, I think I crunched for almost a month, for almost an entire month before, because I mean, it's super stressful. That test, as everybody knows, is like, you want to pass it. You've been 4 or 5 years in an apprenticeship. You want to pass first try. So do whatever you have to. I think all of them are good. As much stuff as you can do is the better. Oh, there's always Michael. 2025 revenue. All right. Let me pull it up. How much did Landers Electric make in 2025? Do I want to share this information? Actually, let me do it on my phone. I think I already know. Gerardo, yeah, I saw that comment. Palmer does simple residential jobs. He does. I like Palmer. I've actually called him. You guys see him switch over to the Tesla? Hey, if all he's doing is small jobs, I mean, the kid's brilliant. I think all of us know that. If you guys haven't seen him, Palmer Electrical, the kid's awesome. Let me open this up here. I'm not going to give you exact numbers, but what I will say is you can take basically whatever you're making. If you were in San Diego, or let's not San Francisco, those guys make more. Los Angeles, San Diego, and double it. You're at least going to make that much. There is potential upside to make way more than that, 3 to 4 times what you would make as a journeyman electrician, depending on how well you can market yourself and how much business you can get. I'm not going to give you my exact numbers. Um, but you could literally work 6 months out of the year and make what you're making as a human. But that is a lot of hard work to get there, right? Um, right out the gate, I doubled my income right when I went out because I spent 2 months prior, um, built the website, got a Google business profile, got the word out to everybody that I knew. And what I told myself before I took the jump. So this is a key one right here. Hang on. This is water, by the way. Just water. I told myself I can charge enough to make double my income. I know that. I did the market research in San Diego to see what everybody was charging and what my net profit would be on those numbers, right? So $150 an hour. After all the taxes and everything, I knew that I could double my income. So basically what I said is I need to have enough jobs scheduled for 2.5 days a week because that's half of a week, right? So 5 days, cut it in half, 2.5 days. If I can get 2.5 jobs days filled before I make that jump, I can make the jump. And so I built the website, got the Google business profile, and I started scheduling jobs. And I would go do those jobs after work because we worked from 6 to 2:30 or 6:30 to 3, whatever it was. And I would go spend 4 or 5 hours after work for the first 2 months. Once it got to the point where I was getting at least 2.5 days worth of work, and I would work on Saturdays too. It was a very challenging time because you're working your full-time job and you're trying to get all of these other jobs with your contractor's license, your own business as well. Once that happened, I put my 2 weeks in. That was it. I said, all right, we're going for it. We have work rolling in every week. We're getting jobs, we're getting calls. At some point, you have to just say, I'm done with this. I'm going to go after it. And if it doesn't work, I'll go back. Right. It's not, again, it's what I was saying earlier. You just got to make that decision at some point. Um, again, be careful. Be when you contractors that you might be working for, um, don't think in your head, I want to be a competitor of them. I want to get a bunch of TI jobs. Those are really challenging to get. They're very difficult because, as I was saying, it's a cutthroat industry, man. The bids are super low, super low. I mean, the labor rates that they're using on some of those jobs is 80, $90 an hour, right? And then they do have markup, they have profit, they have all that stuff, but it's really tough to get those jobs. You need to be thinking more in terms, if you're going to do this, as service jobs. Start with service jobs. You can get a lot of service jobs really quick. You can potentially get some panel upgrades pretty quick, right? The word of mouth gets out there. Those are the jobs you want to go for, direct to customer, because you need quick cash flow. Okay. You need to be able to finish the job in a day and get a check that same day. It goes in your bank account. Now you go the next day, you do another job. Check, bank account, check, bank account, so that the money is continually coming in. You cannot afford right out the gate, unless you have $1 million in the bank or $500,000, even $250,000 would probably do it. Um, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you need money for those big jobs and then expect to not get paid for 2 to 4 months. Like, you're not going to start off as, again, you might have all these contacts and it might work out perfect for you. But for most of us, you're going to start with smaller jobs and you need to go after all of those. Marky Sparky, I'm 38. Started the company, I think I was 33. So right around your age. Um, but yeah, that's what up, my dude? Love it. You still in here? We were just talking about you, man. I love the Tesla. Absolutely love it. You literally had me like geeking out on how can I make it work for us. I don't think, because of the jobs we do, I don't think it's going to work, but I was looking at like like a bigger EV, because here in here in San Diego we get a a better electricity rate. A lot of you guys probably do time of use rates here in San Diego. So I can charge the thing at night at a super cheap rate. Plus my house would use, I would set up a battery in the garage, charge the battery with the EV at the same time. And then during the day, dispense the battery into the house so that I have cheaper power. But anyways, sorry, I'm geeking out. Very cool to see you, Palmer. Glad to see you're still doing well. Where'd he go? EV charger. Yeah, very cool. Where were we at? All right, let's go. We need more videos. Super helpful, especially with tips and talking points. Yep, we're trying. My daughter does a lot of the editing now. She took that over because it's a lot to try and do. Honestly, I hate editing. I like it, but I hate it. It takes so much time. So having her actually doing the edits and then I just do a final cut of it and post it, it's actually helping out a lot. So we're trying to come out with more. So Unreal, helpful. Thanks, bro. Thank you too. So Unreal, you're awesome. Your billing rate includes your labor and Paul's overhead and profit. Yes, that's correct. So Michael Popovic, yeah, I charge my rate $150 an hour for me, and Paul is a little bit less, but that number includes everything as far as overhead, profit, all of that stuff has been added up. So I take my annual. So, I mean, you got to get it down to the weeds when you're looking at this. And again, if you're just coming in, we have a webinar this Saturday. There's a link in the description. If you want to jump into that, there's only 5 seats available. It's an 8-hour webinar where we literally go through way more stuff than we're going through right now on that webinar. And it's only 5 people. So you'll have a chance. It's live with me. We're going to go step by step through it. We'll communicate back and forth. You have ask live questions, whatever you need. It's via Zoom. So wherever you're at in the country, you can jump up on there. But billing rate, yes. Overhead and profit, all of that is baked in. So it's down to how much does it cost to buy a set of tires annually? And I divide that into 1,800 hours. So let's do it real quick. Set of tires, $1,000. Well, let's use an easier number. $1,200 for a set of tires divided by 1,800 hours. That's $0.66 an hour I need to charge for the tires on my truck. Okay, I write that number down, 0.66. The next is, what's another big expense? Let's say workers' compensation, $6,000 a year or whatever it is, divided by 1,800 hours. $3.33 an hour I need to charge to cover my workers' comp, plus 0.66. That's $3.99 we're already at per hour that I need to charge to cover my tires and to cover my workers' compensation. So you literally have to go through every single expense that you have that is a fixed expense: insurance, tires, oil changes, marketing costs, all of that stuff. You add all of it up and you divide it. The reason why I divide by 1,800 hours instead of 2,000 working hours is in this business, not every day is a full 8-hour day. Some days is 4 hours, some days is 6 hours. So we don't have 2,000 hours to divide it by. So I divide it by 1,800 hours. If you wanted to be even tighter, 1,600 hours. And that would give you more time to go take vacations and do that. But that's going to increase your hourly rate if you're baking it all in. So make sure you stay competitive with wherever you're at in your industry, all other contractors. You need to know what they're charging as well, because you could very well price yourself out of the market. But yeah, it's all baked into that hourly rate. So I know no more than 2 hours on a job, and I charge $260. If me and Paul are there, we need to be in and out, or if it's just me, then good. That means I have a little extra profit in that job to cover for any incidentals that come up, right? So make sure that you do the math on everything. That's one thing that I found. A lot of guys, they'll jump right out the gate and they're only charging for San Diego, right? This $90 an hour might be a lot in Alabama, but here in San Diego, that's not enough. It's not nearly going to cover what we need. So you got to do those numbers to make sure that every single job you go on, you can be profitable, right? And by the end of the year, the other thing is make sure you're paying your taxes. The one thing that I pay someone else to do is my CPA. They do my bookkeeping, they do my taxes, they do, if I have a question about something, I can call them and they'll sit on the phone with me. They charge me. It's like $250 an hour to sit on the phone with them, but I need to know that what I'm doing is correct, that I'm categorizing expenses correctly, right? Um, Pay for a good CPA. They're going to do your taxes. They're going to be linked to your project to payment. There's a link in there if you guys see it, project to payment. Great CRM to use, writing estimates, invoices, all of that stuff. $20 a month. That's all you need. Okay. Or video. As I said, I appreciate you guys watching the videos. I couldn't do any of this without you. So I learn. I mean, some of you might think that I'm the teacher out there. I'm learning just as much in the comments because I'm not perfect as an electrician. I've been doing it almost 20 years, but that doesn't mean I know everything, right? So I still, is this thing still good? Yeah. I still look for answers in the comments. And if I'm doing something wrong, people are not afraid to say it. And if I realize I was doing it wrong, then I can change it, right? So it works both ways. I'm helping to teach you guys and provide entertainment for some of you, and then I'm also learning on the backside with all the comments. So please comment on the videos. You got questions, I try and get to all of them. We have over 100 videos, so it's hard to get every single comment, but I try my best. So the 45% profit margin, net or gross? Let me see. Net. I try and hit 45% net. So, but it's net, and then I pay taxes after the 45%. So there is from when I have to pay my own personal and federal taxes. But yeah, I'm trying to hit that's net on the company. So if you don't understand that, gross is total sales, right? That's every check that I've ever gotten for an entire year. That's gross sales. Net is after you subtract all your expenses out of that. So if we did, let's say we did $1 million, which is not what we've done, $1 million, that would be net profit would be what, 450,000. That's 45% net profit. And then I would pay taxes after that. But as I said, with my CPA, we pay taxes every month. And what my CPA does is projects how much I'm going to make at the end of every month. And then we pay those taxes every single month. Otherwise, let's say you're doing $1 million or $500,000, depending on your financial situation, you could be paying up to 28 to 30%. So take 500,000 in sales times 0.28. That's too high. 500,000, sorry, let's say 45% profit margin, 500 times 0.45, 225 times 0.28, $63,000 in taxes. You do not want to get that bill at the end of the year. You want to be paying every single month to make sure that you're covering your taxes, or you're going to end up spending that money and you're going to get hit with a $63,000 tax bill. And you're going to be like, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Do not take it from experience. Do not do that. Do not do that. Does the pros outweigh the con? I will say, Marky Sparky, for me and for my family, it 100% outweighs the cons. It enabled us to live in San Diego and make enough money to purchase a house and take care of my family on a single income. It 100%. And it also, at times, it's really, really challenging. I don't get to see the family because I'm working so much. But then remember, on the other side, there's times where I don't have to work on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and I can take a week off if I want. So life just becomes a little different. It's not as scheduled. Like some days, I'm telling you, some days I come home, I think my day's over. I get a phone call and I'm gone. And I yell up the stairs, babe, I got to go. She's like, okay, sounds good. We'll see you in a little bit. We just kind of, that's not how it was in the beginning. Um, it's hard to get used to that lifestyle, but you do fall into a pattern and we work together. You know what I mean? She knows like, hey, he's got to go. He's got to go to this job. He's got to make money. Like some jobs can get pushed off to the next day. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's an emergency and you got to go. 2025 revenue. You're Marky Spark. You're all about OT. That's great. Absolutely. That is one of the precursors, I would say, to having your own company is if you're, because you're going to work, whether it's actually working with your tools or you have work to do at home, emails to answer, quotes to write. It can be never ending if you allow it. You have to stop it. You literally have to push back and say, I'm going to handle the rest of that tomorrow. And I'm not very good at doing that. I want to get everything done the same day, but I'm slowly learning. Okay, we got to do this. I gotta spend time with the family. I got to do these things. And the beginning is very difficult. It's challenging. You're going to be working a lot. There's a lot to do. But the answer to your question, I think it's worth it. There's a lot of competition. We should do electrical and other trade like plumbing. So I don't really understand what you're, are you saying electrical, plumbing? You can do plumbing too. You can do electrical, you can do plumbing, HVAC, all of them. Those top three, I think, are have the upside potential, I think, to make the most. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I think those three, you stay pretty busy. We're seeing the handyman. That guy is making bank as a handyman. So that's another thing. You can definitely make a lot of money as a handyman. So what do you think of app hats give leads like Thumbtack? Again, we talked about this earlier. Thumbtack and Angie, they can work. I used them probably for the first month or two, and then I realized how expensive it is, and I stopped. So that's my advice. Palmer does simple electrical jobs. Let's see here. Do I do controls? I do some controls. I specialized in hang on. I specialized in lighting controls for the last, here in California, we have what's called Title 24. And I actually got my license to become an acceptance technician. So think about a commercial building. Think about a commercial building. We put a lighting system in. It has to be programmed. It has to be according to California's lighting standards, right? You have to have motion sensors in certain rooms. You have to have daylight sensors in certain rooms. What I did is I got the license back in 2013 to inspect buildings right after they're built to make sure that they are in compliance with California's Title 24 code. And you cannot get a certificate of occupancy on commercial buildings in San Diego and in California unless you have an acceptance technician actually sign off on saying that your lighting system, and now it's mechanical as well. I don't think it's plumbing yet, but I have that license, and that kind of turned me, by having that license, gave me the ability to learn lighting controls, Enlight, Green Gate, Lutron, Leviton, lots of Watt Stopper. So I have a lot of background in lighting controls. I don't have like motor controls. I do some of it. We can figure it out. Start stop buttons, stuff like that. But it's not like, I've done some of it, but it's not like a huge part of what we do. I do much more with lighting controls and signing off on buildings here in San Diego. How old am I? I'm 31 or 38. Thank you for imparting more wisdom on us through the trade. Absolutely. Gerardo says, Landers, I have my C10 and working with another company, but I want to work on my own. But they spend a lot of money on marketing, like $40,000 a month. Yeah, I mean, some companies do. when you're first starting out, I don't think you can afford that. I mean, I've even thought about putting like billboards, getting a billboard, but I looked into that, and billboards, depending on where they're at, if they're on like a freeway or something, they're super expensive. And so try and learn, look up on YouTube how to um, market a business for free, right? Start researching that. You're going to need to learn how to do that. I've spent probably 9 years learning how to do that, whether it's with website articles, whether it's with YouTube, whether it's with how do I do it for free? How do I get found for free? I do not want to be reliant upon Thumbtack or Angie or House Call Pro or any of these other things to get business. I need to figure out how to do it on my own. Your fellow electrician based out of Del Mar. Hey, what's up, man? That's awesome. Yeah, I'm in North County. Same thing. So a little bit farther north than you. That's really cool. Do you have an S Corp? Yep, we are an S Corp. That's what my CPA told me. We should do that. How do you charge per job, labors plus materials, or per hour flat rate? That's a great question. So most of the jobs, most are flat rate. I will have them send me photos, and I will say for 16 can lights, 2 dimmer switches, and exhaust fan in your bathroom, $2,800 or $3,500. I don't break it out. I will break out what we're doing. I'll say installation of 16 new wafer LED can lights and 2 dimmer switches, right? I'll put that on there, but I do not break out pricing. If they ask me to break out pricing, I will not break out pricing unless I say that wrong. There are very few customers who want to actually see the pricing, but you will get a feel for those customers. And a lot of them are nickel and diming, and they want to see if they can cut stuff out. But you'll also find the customers. I just had one recent. When I went over there, he wanted it all broken down, and I could tell that he was not the type who was trying to nickel and dime me. He just literally wanted to see what each task. And for that one, I did walk it because he had so many tasks in his house that it was really difficult for him to send photos and explain everything. So in those instances, I will go to their to their house. But I want to get a good feeling that they are actually going to do this job, right? And I did get that feeling, and we ended up landing the job, and we did the job, and we just passed the inspection yesterday. So it was very good. So always per hour flat rate. Now, when I'm doing the flat rate, right, when I'm writing up my quote, in my head, I'm doing hours plus material, right? But it does not come across to them. I know how long it takes, right? I know that it's going to take me about a day to do 16 can lights if there's an attic and 2 dimmer switches. I know that. With me and Paul, we can run in there, do it. So I know what a day rate is for me and Paul, and then I'll add up the material. If I forget what it is, I'll go on Home Depot or call the supply house really quick. Hey, how much for these? I need 16 lights and I need this, and I need some MC, or I need, if it's commercial, or I need Romex, and then I'll get a quick quote, and boom, by that night, I can send a quote over to them, right? And again, using something like Project to Payment, which I put a link in there, you can send that estimate directly to them. And then if they want to move forward, they can click a button that says accept, and it sends you an email. And now you can work on scheduling with that customer. So it's so critical to have a program like that you're using. And that one is $20 a month. I just partnered with those guys because amazing, $20 a month. LCs, how do you charge? That was it. I pay 150 to your CPA, but never report anything monthly. Yeah, so I would just check with them, Gerardo. Check with them to make sure that everything's on the up and up, because what you don't want is at the end of the year, you don't have any of your expenses categorized. Like in my software that I have, every single expense that I have from my bank account and from my business credit cards, it's linked in the Project to Payment. It's in the CRM. So every time I spend money with the business credit card, it comes into the program. It sees it. It's linked together. right? And then I get to say, what is this? What is this expense? Oh, this is vehicle, gas, and fuel. This is workers' compensation insurance. This is general liability insurance. This is whatever. And you categorize each one. And at the end of the year, you have a spreadsheet. It's called a P&L, profit and loss sheet. And it literally shows every single thing, every item that you spent money on throughout the entire year and how much you spent. It's so critical to have that, right? That's what they go off of for doing your taxes. You have a P&L sheet. If you ever try and buy a house as a small business owner, okay, they're going to want to see a profit and loss sheet. If you don't have anything that you can show them that your company is actually legitimate and making money, you're never going to be able to buy a house. You're never going to be able to buy a vehicle in the company name. You have to have everything laid out, really well organized, or you're going to struggle with anything as far as purchases are concerned. For a two-man service tailor, do you double your hourly rate or half the man hours? Do you have a minimum charge? Yeah, we went over this just a little bit ago. 260 for residential is our minimum, and 300 for commercial is our minimum. As far as two-man service call, I basically charge 260 an hour in my head, right? I might go a little bit less if I know that the customer is a little tight on their budget. I might drop it a little bit, but that covers me, what I want to make. That covers Paul, all his overhead plus a little profit on him. And I will just charge that. If it's an 8-hour job, we'll charge 260 times 8, right? If it's a 4-hour job, 260 times 4 plus drive time one way, right? I don't charge drive time both ways. And then I write it out, add the materials on top. The 260 already has my profit and loss or my profit and overhead in there. So I know I'm covered on the business expenses, and then everything added up, and give them the flat rate quote. Here it is, $1,500, $2,800, whatever. That's how you want to do that. Or that's how I do that. Is there a lot of work in San Diego commercial work? I think there is. But as I was saying earlier, the like TIs and stuff, your competition is the bigger boys, and it's really tough to compete at a 45% profit margin. So I get smaller commercial projects direct to owners or to whoever's renting the building. Like let's say they rented out an office space and they want the whole thing renovated. I get jobs from them, but I don't put out, like, there's Plan Hub and Plan Bid and all these other places where it's jobs that are going out to bid to a bunch of contractors. I don't ever I send them to spam. I don't even try and go after them because I lose almost every single one. With the labor rate that I charge, I can never compete with them. So I would have to lower my rates, and it's just not going to get me. And it's so much of a headache. Like, I just don't want to deal with it. Plus 2 to 4 months to wait for your paycheck when the job's done. So sometimes contractors will allow progress payments. You need to stipulate that beforehand when they sign the contract or when they sign the quote. But yeah, so there is a lot of commercial work. It's just whether or not you're going to get that work. So we probably do 80-20, 20% commercial and 80% residential, just because that's where I found the profit margin that I want. That's about the balance that gets me right where I want to be. And again, that you're not going to get rich. You're going to make more than you are as a journeyman. But like, I mean, I wouldn't say, I guess rich is a relative term, right? But I'm not going to be making $3 million a year. It's not going to happen. I have to hire more people in order to increase the capacity to get to that level, right? Super Crano, number 6 is 55 amps, 50 amp 2-pole works. Correct. If you're doing a 50 amp, that's that last video we pumped out. 50 amp outlet, NEMO 1450, you can use number 6 Romex. If you put a 60 amp charger in, you cannot. You have to use THHN or upsize to number 4 Romex because it's rated for it. Andrew was going to do 60 for EV charger, but I don't have an electric car. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it in if you don't need it, for sure. Most EV chargers are rated for 60 amps, I believe. I guess number 4 wires 70 amps. Let me see with Landers. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. Customers want to break down the estimate, and I don't do that. Yeah, I don't do that either. It again, you have to kind of feel out the customer. Some customers, that's just the way their brain works, and if they want it broken out, certain customers I will do it for. But I mean, it doesn't happen a lot. They see the flat rate. It's like the way I see it is, if I go to Costco and I want to buy a TV, I don't get to see a line item for how much did the circuit board cost, how much did the screen cost. That's not how we do things. Like, so I don't do that with my business. I say, for me to come and install this at your house, it's going to cost $2,500. Yes or no? And that's typically, it usually goes over pretty good. Is half and half. I work for Helix, Andrew, and they do everything of both. Joshua Perez, I'm on Plan Hub, and you're spot on, brother. Always losing the big players, yet to the big players. Yeah, I mean, I've tried it, man. Like, you just can't. You can't win. Yeah, it's always seemed to be like the lowest bid. I mean, some guys, if you build a relationship, but I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't go after it. I don't go after it. I just tell them no thanks, or unfortunately we're too busy. I'm so sorry, I can't take on any more work. You know what I mean? Something like that. Electrified 84. Hi there. Appreciate information you're sharing with us from Orange County, California. Got my residential electrician exam passed. Next step is a C10. That's all. That's awesome, man. Congratulations on that. Go after the C10 if that's what you want to do. You can definitely do it. Joshua Perez, you don't feel like you're competing at a lower rate on residential? We are. I've had to kind of slowly. I was trying to charge a minimum of 300 for residential, and I noticed that I was not getting very many jobs. So I did lower it to 260, and we seem to be landing more. And some of them, if it's just me who goes, I'll drop it to 195. So I will do that on some jobs. It all depends on how far am I going, how far out of my way is it. So that's kind of where that is. Any advice on some good news resources, electrified courses to use to be prepared for the C10? So on the CSLB website, they have what's going to be on the exam. I didn't use any of the contractor courses, but I've heard nothing but good things from them, that they really, really do know what they're doing. So just find one that's popular. And if you don't feel you can learn it on your own, take one of those courses. I've heard good things about them. I can't say that from a personal experience, but yeah, check them out. George Rivera, I know you mentioned residential and commercial, but if in the future you get some industrial project, how much would your hourly rate be? I mean, honestly, I would just probably keep it the same. I probably wouldn't change it. Commercial versus industrial, it's all time and materials. So, and then I put them together as a flat rate. I don't really care what I'm doing. I always say I'll push a broom if you want to pay my rate. Like, I don't care. This Christmas season, we did permanent Christmas lights on people's houses. We did 10 houses, right? And I priced them. I did give people a little bit of a discount because they're in my neighborhood and they're so close to home. And I was able to put multiple jobs together. The boom lift was like $600, $800. No, it was like $1,000 for the boom lift. So I tried to hit 2 jobs a day, and that made sense by tried to do good by my neighbors, you know what I mean? But once one person in my neighborhood got it, there was like 8 others that wanted them too. And one of the customers put a Facebook post out for me saying, "Hey, Steven just did this for us. Like, if you want these, he's got the boom lift." And so it was just like boom, 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 boom. And I'm telling you, like, again, I don't care what I'm doing. You want to pay my rate, I'll do it. Same thing with YouTube and sponsored videos. Here's my rate. It takes me this much time to make a video. It takes me this much time to do the research on how to title it and all the description and everything. Like, here's my cost. Yes or no. So I just kind of do the same across the board. Figure out what you want to make, where you want to be at in the next 20, 30 years, and run with it. How do you research the market to find what competitors are charging? So that's a good question. You're going to end up meeting other contractors and building relationships with them to where you can actually ask them what are they charging. When you build good enough relationships, I don't see certain guys as my competitors. We work together. When I can't handle a project or I don't want to do a certain project, the other guys usually specialize in that, right? So I found other companies who they like to do different types of jobs than I do. And so I'll refer to them and then they'll refer jobs to me when they can't take it on. So you'll build those relationships and you'll get to talk to them over time. The other thing you can look at, oh, goodness, man. Where did I research? Just Google. Go on Google, use ChatGPT, whatever, Gemini, and start asking what are the current rates in this area. And then I would say at least bump those up by 25%. San Diego, I see guys charging anywhere from a service call fee from like 149 to 300 an hour, or for 2 hours, for a 2 hour minimum. Some of the guys will charge a 1 hour minimum for super small jobs. But and the plumbers are about the same. They're actually a little bit more expensive than we are. But yeah, am I lagging? Am I still lagging, guys? I was talking Marky Sparky. Oh, hang on. Super Kranos, smaller residential jobs is where you would make the most money, quick, done, paid. So that's a key point right there. The making sure that you have consistent cash flow coming in. Some jobs might take 1 to 2 weeks to get paid. The smaller jobs are typically going to get paid right away. And if you use the right software, you can accept payments right away. Send them an email. They can pay with their credit card right through that. They can pay with their debit card right through that. That's why you want to be set up on something like that. That's quick money. Boom, boom, boom. So if I get into a situation where I have a little bit of a cash flow issue, I will try and schedule a bunch of small jobs all together so that I can quickly get $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 in my bank account, right? So it does not, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's all perfect and butterflies, right? It doesn't always work out perfectly, but you're right. Those smaller jobs is quick money. Like it just comes straight in. Larger projects with the GC, do you provide an itemized pricing? I know where I'm at on public projects they want to see. Again, I don't really do work for big GCs, large projects. And no, I would not provide itemized pricing for that. A lot of them are going to come back and try and ask for it. That's another reason why I don't work for them, because they want to see everything broken out. And I don't have the time to do it because I don't even know if I'm going to land the job. There's been some big projects I've quoted. It took me 2 to 3 days to quote the project. They told me, oh yeah, you're going to get this one. I love the number. And then they come back, oh man, your number's too high. You need to come down. And then I find out 2 days later, I didn't get the job. I just wasted 3 days. I'm not doing that anymore. Like I won't do it. No itemized pricing especially for the big guys. Here's your number, take it or leave it. I'm thinking of getting a friend that has my hustle to partner up with. You're both JWs and just want to make extra dough. Marky Sparky, a partnership is like a marriage. Okay. Be careful. I would say be careful. Why don't both of you go off on your own and then just support each other so that you make your money and that other person makes their money? It's literally like a marriage. And I couldn't even imagine that there's so many decisions that need to be made that if it got to the point where the partner was in disagreement, it's going to be really challenging. So just be careful. A lot of people do it, but with what I'm doing, I don't need to answer to anybody else except for my wife. She's part owner. She owns 50% of the company. I run most of it. I make most of the decisions. The bigger decisions we make together. But she's my wife, and I rely on her as my helpmate to help me think through things that I might not think, the blind sides that I might have, the blind spots that I might have. Um, that's what you're going to get into if you partner with somebody. I would say both of you go off on your own and help each other, and then find other contractors who might already have been doing it for a while, who could potentially throw you a little bit of work here and there, jobs that maybe they don't want to do. So just be careful partnering. Um, I was talking to a roof salesman, and he said that a lot of those public works projects are at a 10% profit margin. Yeah. I mean, that now, I mean, some of the public works projects, 10% profit margin on $1 million project is $100,000, right? But so it's more money, but it's also a lot of headache to deal with the big projects, especially public works. Marcus Sparky rented a boom lift too. Uh, Rich D, hey man, I'm East Coast and I'm sure my pricing is way different, but would love to see exactly how you quote jobs. Yeah, I went over that, but I'll say it again. I take my knowledge of how long it takes to do a project. I have an hourly rate that has my overhead and my profit, all my expenses on the company and the profit that I want to make already baked into an hourly rate. I figure out how long is the job going to take me. Okay, if it's an 8-hour job, I multiply it by 8 hours by my hourly rate, and then I add the material costs on top of that, and then I send a quote with the flat rate. I don't tell them all that information. That's in my head. They get a flat rate with a list of what we're going to do. So electrical panel upgrade, we're going to do ground rods, we're going to do new panel, we're going to do everything except for the stucco and the drywall repair. And they're going to see that. And then at the bottom is a number, and that's it. That's all I do. A bid at HOA with 50 Federal Pacific panel replacements 1976. I didn't win the bid, and JK Electric didn't either. How would we convince the HOA to proceed, as this is a huge safety risk? Um, I I don't even get into that. Um, I if someone doesn't want me to work for them, I'm not going to work for them. I'm not going to push them to do the job. I don't send like follow-up emails. Um, well, that's a lie. Every now and then, if there's a job I really want, I might send them an email saying, "Hey, I'm trying to schedule out for next month. Just wanted to know if I need to um, mark out some time for the project that we discussed." Right, something like that. I don't like pressure. I don't like to tell them that their panels are unsafe. Um, I don't like to. That's not what I do. So I'll give them a quote. If they decide they're not going to go with me, that's fine. Well, I got a lot of other jobs that I need to, and if I don't have any more jobs, I need to go get more jobs. I don't want to spend time trying to talk somebody into doing something, especially if they don't want to, or they don't think they should. How much should a person, Sergio? How much should a person charge for troubleshooting? And you're in San Diego, Sergio. I usually start with the 2-hour minimum. I ask them for pictures. I ask them if it's troubleshooting, they might not know what to take a picture of. So I ask them, what happened? Did you plug in a space heater and then everything went out? What were you doing? Um, was somebody working at the house? Right. I ask them all these questions on the phone, and then I tell them it's a 2-hour minimum at 260. But these troubleshooting calls can go longer than that. I just need to let you know, after the first 2 hours, it's 150 an hour. And then that lets them know. So that is the one caveat where if it literally is going to come down to time and material, where I don't know how long it's going to take, I will tell them my hourly rate. And I will tell them if they specifically ask me. Like, I had a guy call me last week. He wants me to become their new electrician for their building, right? Or their facility. And they have constant problems with motors and all this stuff. And he said, how much is your hourly rate? I said, 150. He said, why is it so high? I said, because I don't mark up material. He's like, oh, okay, that sounds great. Okay, can I come meet you? I'm going to meet the guy on Tuesday. So that type of stuff happens often. So for troubleshooting, that's what I do. How do you handle credit card fees? So under $1,000, I will eat the credit card fee. over $1,000, I try not to, but sometimes, I mean, if you really think about it, it's 3%. It's not that much. So if I'm doing a $15,000 job and it's a matter of if they ask, will you take a credit card? I'll usually tell them no, but if you really would like to pay with it, I'll accept it. That means I'm going to lose a couple $100. What's 3% of 15,000? 450 bucks. Is it worth it to you to lose 450 bucks to get a $15,000 job? Probably. You know what I mean? Or not. It's no, you don't want to lose it over 450 bucks. You know what I mean? So make sure that you're covering yourself. If you have to up your quote a little bit to cover the 450, maybe on a jobs that are bigger like that, just assume that they're going to want to pay with the credit card and maybe split it with them in your quote. Maybe 225 bucks, throw in an extra 225 into your quote, and then you can say yes to them. You know what I mean? So think about those things before you write your quotes. Sergio, charge 99 cent $99 dispatch fee plus diagnostic. Yeah, that works. And then if they decide to go with you, you can either discount that diagnostic fee, or I know a plumber, I was just talking to him. He said that's what he does. He charges a $65 show up fee and diagnostic. And then if they decide to go with him for their actual repair, he'll get rid of that dispatch fee. So when they book the appointment, let them know they have them on the schedule. Yep, absolutely. I see, makes sense, but I like to charge $450 for a troubleshooting. Would you say that's reasonable if it takes me 10 minutes? Absolutely not in San Diego. There's guys that are doing $195 or even $149 for a job that takes $10 or 10 minutes. I don't think you're going to get very many jobs if you tell them your minimum is $450. I was at $300 and I was losing a lot of jobs. So I dropped it for residential down to $260. Commercial, $300 works pretty well. If you want, you can undercut everybody and go in there at 99, 120. But in my opinion, and I'm not saying you're going to do this, but in my opinion, that hurts everybody. If someone is way undercutting everybody else, it makes people think that now you're going to be super busy, but also are you making the money that you want to make? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't go off on my own so that I could make less money than, so you got to find that happy medium. Are you going to be $100 an hour? Or are you going to be $400, $500 an hour? Like, you're not going to get as many jobs. So find where that happy medium is, let's see. Rich D, do you have a minimum hours when you quote a job? Let's say 4-hour increments when you quote. No. Again, I have a minimum 260 and that covers 2 hours. So if it's a small job and they explain it to me over the phone, I will typically know, okay, it's probably a loose neutral somewhere. It's probably going to take me, I might get lucky and figure which receptacle the problem is right away, or it might take me an hour and a half to find it. But usually those quicker jobs, 260 covers it. Okay, let's see. I got to get going here soon, guys. Any additional hour, it'll be 179 plus. That's cool. Yeah, I like 179 works. Yeah, you could do that. One question: what's your helper's YouTube channel? He's Fishin, Fishin, Foos. That's Paul. I'll put it in here. Fishin' Foos. That's Paul. How do you get jobs and leads when you first started, and how do you get them now? I got them primarily from Google. I set up a Google business profile. I set up my website, and a lot of the beginning ones was referrals. So I let everybody know I was going on my own. And then every time you do a job, ask for a review in the beginning. And I usually word it something like, oh goodness. Hey, I just also at the end, like when I'm done, I'll send them a text message and I say, if we did a good job, and if you have a little bit of extra time, there's no obligation whatsoever, but if you wouldn't mind leaving us a Google review, it really helps our business, something like that. And most people will leave a review for smaller jobs. And that's really what gets the ball rolling. The more reviews you get that are 5-star, Google will see you. There's other things you need to do too, but that's the first step in that. And as I said in the beginning, we have a webinar. I'm going to be live on Zoom for 8 hours this Saturday, this next upcoming Saturday. So a week from today. It's Saturday, right? Yeah, tomorrow's Sunday. There's only 5 spots available, and we are going to go way into depth. If you are actually serious, I just discounted. It was more expensive, but I want to fill the seats. So there's 5 seats available. I don't want 25 people in there. I don't want 30. I want it to be as close to a one-on-one as we can. I'm going to send a Zoom link out to those who sign up. And I put the link in the description if you want to be there. 8 full hours. And I'm going to go step by step by step from the beginning through marketing, through pricing jobs, through all the stuff that I've learned over the past 4.5 years, the stuff that I've learned the hard way. So if you want to be a part of that, look in the description. You can also go to landerselectric.net, look for the article that's titled Start a Construction Company. There's only 5 seats available. I haven't seen if anybody signed up, so there might not be 5 left, but it's this upcoming Saturday, 8 full hours on Zoom. If you want to be a part of that, sign up now. And then, yeah, so that's how I started. Google business profile, making sure that it used to be Google My Business. I think it's GBP now. And then a website. Make sure Squarespace is awesome. Everything you need. You can build your own website. It's super easy. Get it set up. Figure out a domain name. We're going to go through all that, how to do that in the Zoom webinar if you want to be a part. You do $99 dispatch fee to have a technician there and give them the best solution. Yeah, that's great. You can do that too. I'm actually considering, do I want to do that for what I'm doing works pretty well. So maybe I'll try that on 1 or 2 jobs to see how that works. But anyways, thank you guys so much. This has been amazing. I'm so thankful for all of you out there. I really am. Just a small guy. When you see the videos, I see guys, I run into them at Home Depot, supply houses, whatever. Guys, I'm just a guy like you. I started out where you did. I started as an apprentice. I just started making YouTube videos, and you can do the same thing. All right. If you want more in depth, CA Sparky, I do not pay for SEO. That is another thing we're going to go through in the Zoom webinar, how to do your own marketing. I only give that to people who sign up for the webinar. It's basically giving a lot of secrets away. And it's taken me 9 years to learn what I learned. It's a big part of making sure that you have consistent business. So we will go into that if you want to be a part of that, as well as everything else that I've learned over the past 4.5 years. And even prior to that, what got me to be able to actually finally make the jump. And as I said earlier, to be profitable from day one. I will show you my P&Ls in the webinar if you want to be in there. I will show you how much I make, and you'll get to see what the opportunity can be for you in a profitable business. So thank you guys so much. Erwin, thanks so much. Keep up the good work. Andrew, everybody, CA Sparky, Marky Sparky, Gerardo, everybody out there. Really appreciate you guys. And I will try to go live when I can. Next video, I think it's going to be a Bluetti one, setting up a whole home backup system. I have a solar video setting up the van with the solar panel and lots of other videos that I'm planning right now. So again, thank you for your support. Oh, one other thing. When you guys watch the videos, the only thing that I would ask, it really helps when a video first comes out, when you watch the video, if you watch the whole thing. You probably already know that, but it really does push the video and it helps. I don't like asking for money. I don't like asking for super chats or none of that stuff. If there's anything you could do to support the channel, When you're ready to watch the video, press play and let it play all the way through. And if you can like it one time, and if you, I know most of you guys are subscribed, so like it. And then if you can also just leave a comment, it really helps the video, especially the first 1 to 2 hours when a video comes out. Really, it's whenever you watch the video. If you can just watch it all the way through, just let it play. If you don't have time, just let it play on your phone. That would be great. If you can't, I totally understand. We're all busy, but I just figured I'd let you guys know. Oscar Chavez, bro. Oh man, text me. I've actually thought about you a couple times in the past month. Yeah, text me, man. I still got your number. I heard you're a PM now. Give me a text or I'll shoot you a text. All right, bro. Thank you, everybody. You guys have a great night. Take care.